Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Stories Worth Hearing. I'm your host, John Quick, and today we've got a great conversation with Jayde Laws, founder of Mailzy. Jayde is absolutely crushing it in the email marketing world and has helped generate more than $500 million in revenue for brands. She's worked with companies like Magic Mind and a number of other fast-growing brands, helping them scale through smart email marketing, customer retention, and better communication. In this episode, we talk about how she first got started in marketing, some of the wins and failures along the way, why email marketing is still one of the most powerful tools in business today, and how artificial intelligence is changing the game. She also shares a ton of practical tips and insights that can help every kind of entrepreneur grow their business, build a stronger audience, and drive more sales. This is a really good one, so you are not going to want to miss it. Without further ado, Jayde Laws, welcome to the show.
This will be fun to kind of hear your story, hear a little bit about what got you started in the email marketing business, and excited to chat with you.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate you reaching out and having me on.
Well, we were chatting a little bit before. I have been a big fan of Magic Mind's kind of marketing and email strategy and a couple other big brands. And one of your reels popped up and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is one of the people behind some of these marketing strategies that I thought was so genius. But my first question to you is this, before we get into that, is what got you started in email marketing to begin with? Because I think sometimes people, it's kind of like a lost, dying art.
Yeah.
It seems to be like people not necessarily focusing on it, but it's still like a gold mine for brands. So what got you first started in email marketing?
Yeah, it's funny because I also saw it as this dying art as well. And so I never even looked at email, ironically. I never even wanted to get into email. And the way I started was about 9 years ago. I was just freelancing for brands doing their social media marketing when that was a huge thing and managing their accounts. And then one of the clients at the time was a hemp brand specifically. And he asked me to just manage their emails and see if I could do anything with it. And I did think it was a dying thing. I didn't even think it was worth my time. But for the clients, I just decided to do some things here and there. And it kind of changed my mind immediately because it was the only thing at the time that I saw genuine ROI from. And I love data. And so proving that, oh, you send this email, it generates X amount of ROI or X amount of dollars back. I hooked onto that. And so I switched completely once that happened. I'd been freelancing for a few years and then switched completely when I worked with their clients. And I just went all in on email and specifically all in on email in the hemp industry. And so siloed myself in on that and very quickly realized, oh, wait, you have this owned channel instead of renting attention like you do with social media or running ads. And I was like, once you have a list, you can do whatever you want with it. And you don't have to spend again to get those people like that. Those are your people that you can see genuine data from. And to me, that was what really appealed to me.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I feel like with social media, we rely so much on like the Facebook pixel to give us this kind of mysterious data that we hope is correct. And it's often overlooked that if you have somebody's email, you can just talk to them directly. So tell me a little bit more
Yeah.
about that aha moment, because I think it's for a lot of maybe new entrepreneurs, that part's missed a little bit sometimes because they don't realize it because they've never done the email marketing hard that everybody else had to do, like in 2005 or 2003.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I mean, I audit probably like 50 brands a week or so, and every single backend usually has the same thing, whereas it's this run-of-the-mill strategy. I think people understand now at this point with e-commerce that email marketing is important for the funnel. It's like this middle of funnel, you have your top of funnel, that's ads, and that's it. But they don't realize that within your retention funnel, or at least within your email marketing list and your ad list, there's so many different archetypes of people that perform different functions. And what I mean by that is if you just take a regular brand, only 5,000 people on their list, they're not getting much traffic, maybe 5,000 people onto the website every single month. Out of those 5,000 people, there's people with different pain points, number one. There's also people with different interests. So you have people that are buyers and then they never come back again. Then you have people that are repeat buyers. They love your brand. They're going to buy from you over and over again. And then you have this other list of people that are lapsed customers. So you have all these different buyer behaviors that you're just leaving stagnant, which makes no sense because with ads, you're acquiring new customers. These are people that are impulse buyers. They're seeing your brand for the first time. You're going to rely on the fact that they'll buy from you. But when you dig a little bit deeper, what about those buyers that lapse? What about the buyers that are not willing to spend over $80 on your brand? There's so many different moving pieces, and that's what appealed to me. When I really went down the rabbit hole of, okay, send an email and now people buy from it. But what's actually happening from those people that bought from it? Do they ever come back? Are they high intent customers? Did they even want to buy from us? Like, what moved that needle into making them buy? And what we often see, and you probably see it a lot as well when you speak to e-commerce brands, they rely on like a 2.2% average conversion on Shopify. But what about the other percentage of people that land on your website and they're not relying on impulses? They need to see a pain point answered, or they need to see reviews because they don't trust you enough. And that is the fun part of email, is you're taking this dialogue and manufacturing it or nurturing it to a pain point. And to me, that's like what gets better than an owned list and speaking directly to what they need to hear.
How do you think factors in, like, the people going viral on Instagram or TikTok, and that maybe cutting through some of the science that you just talked about? Does that ever happen? Or do you need both? Or, because I think sometimes, somebody will go viral on TikTok shop or whatever, and they're just selling widgets that they don't, they have nothing to do with necessarily, but they're still making tons of money. Are they missing out by not doing a follow-up email campaign? How do the two worlds work together in your mind? The kind of viral social media folks, influencers, and email marketing?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question because we've had a client exactly like this, and I can't say who they are, but they went completely viral on Twitch, which is like such a nuanced industry, but specifically amongst gamers, and they went so viral. And so Twitch streamers were the ones using the products, and that obviously has way more weight than just a random ad. You're now seeing someone that you trust and you watch frequently, and they carry this weight of reliance that ads can't. And so you have this added extra, hey, well, they're going to buy anyway because your favorite person that you watch online is using it. So then it must be a good product. They wouldn't use just anything. So there is that added layer of, okay, now we're getting way more conversions because this person spoke about our product. We don't need another marketing channel. But what people are not looking at a lot of the time is, let's just say you have an influencer like Kim Kardashian who promotes her product. At the end of the day, doesn't matter what it is, let's just say it's a clothing brand. A influencer promotes that specific product, and then later on, the person never comes back because they didn't know how to style that product, or they didn't know how to get the actual benefits from it, because an influencer can only go so far. They recommend something, you're going to try it, but if you never get the use case that you want out of it, you're going to go to another product. It doesn't actually matter who promotes it. If Kim Kardashian tells you to buy something, but then you never actually see the benefits from that thing, why would you buy it again just because she said so? And so, yes, it gets acquisition, but it doesn't target the other two pillars, which is returning customers and making sure that they increase their spend the next time they come to you. And the only way to do this is to actually educate them in that middle part. So yes, you got the influencer to get them over the line, but what about what happens after that? They've used the product, they didn't get what they wanted, but it's because you didn't tell them how to use it, and no one was there to explain that process and give them exceptional customer service. The way I think about it, and I explained this recently to someone, if you think about, Jonathan, if you think about your favorite restaurant that you've been to, a lot of the time it's probably going to be the service that you got from it. And maybe it's a friend recommended it, you went to try it. But if you got terrible service, you're probably not going to go back to that restaurant, regardless of who recommended it. It could have been your closest friend. But if you got tremendous service as well as great food from that recommendation, you're probably going to come back. But your friend can only do half the job of getting you through the doors. The restaurant has to do the part of making sure they nurture you enough to bring you back. That's not something a recommendation can do.
So talk to me a little bit about, I'm sure that your company does like brand audits out the wazoo on folks and marketing funnel audits. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see that people make that maybe have experienced a little success and like thought they had everything down, and then they're like, oh crap, nobody's buying our stuff anymore? What's some of those biggest mistakes that you see right out the gate all the time when you're auditing these brands?
So I would say And they'll come to mind as I speak. So one huge thing that we always see is just kind of similar to what I was just talking about. The post-purchase experience is always the worst part of their marketing, which fascinates me because yes, you want to prioritize and get someone through the door. That's always everyone's number one metric is CAC, making sure that you get a first purchase on your ad. That's like the success barometer. But no one is looking at, okay, what happens after that? How do we make sure that they return more and they spend more? Increase AOV, increase retention. And most of the brands, even if they're doing multiple millions of dollars, we find that's the number one neglected thing is they're just prioritizing for first time purchase. But your profitability could be so much more exponentially higher if you focused on your existing customers that you already spent to acquire, which is the craziest thing to me that you don't prioritize that more and make sure that you just nurture them more. And so the post purchase flow is almost non existent. If anything, it's always set up incorrectly. The second thing, for sure, is the people that are repeat buyers. It fascinates me that most brands continuously send them the same marketing message. So let's just say that Memorial Day is coming up this weekend, and so we've already prepared a bunch of campaigns for our clients there. And what most brands that we order do is they send the same message to their repeat buyers and their non-buyers. And the reason why that's just doesn't make any sense is because your repeat buyers would have bought anyway. Why are you discounting your brand, breaking down your margins for people that would have spent regardless? Whereas you should be focusing on trying to get non-buyers through the door. Your repeat customers need a completely different messaging. So those are the two things that we almost 90% of the time never see in place. And then if we want to get a little bit more granular, oftentimes we'll have brands that have third parties, so loyalty points or subscriptions, whatever their niche is. And they never cater the messaging to those people either. So I would say 99% of the time, those are the three areas where brands just don't have a nailed down strategy. And the issue is, and brands can do this test, even if they are running email marketing. If you go into your backend and you create a segment of how many people you have that are only one-time purchases, and then create another segment of people that are repeat purchases, you're going to see a massive discrepancy between those numbers, and your one-time purchases is going to reveal a huge issue in your post-purchase funnel. That's the number one thing that's like a low-hanging fruit that no one looks at.
You talked a little bit about pain points before. Can you unpack that a little bit? Because I think that's super important for folks. A lot of people that listen to this podcast are people that are like aspiring to be entrepreneurs or maybe have made that first step and they're not doing multi-millions of dollars a month, but they hope to be. I think the pain point stuff in marketing is so important and most people don't even know what that means. So can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair question because there's actually different pain points. So I would say that and I like to categorize this with my company, you get top of funnel pain points, which is what is the pain point that's going to get a customer through the door? Why are they buying your product versus someone else's? Is it because you guys have a better brand voice? Is it because your product solves their gut issues or their pain issues, or it helps them in some kind of way? It helps their pet. So that's a pain point, is what is the top lying pain point that will get someone through the door? But then once you have someone through the door, we have middle of funnel pain points. And middle of funnel pain points is, oh, now I know that this person kind of has a seemingly better product and it seems to solve my issues, like my gut issues. And that's what Gruns does so well, or Gruns, sorry. What they do so well is they run these ads specifically to gut, pain, weight loss, etc. And they're choosing their pain points and they're bringing in people based on that. But then they know that they have a middle of funnel pain point, which is completely different. And that is, okay, you got people through the door, but now their pain point is, number one, they don't trust you enough. Number two, maybe your shipping costs are too high. Number three, maybe they don't see something they like. Number four, maybe your website is a little bit too complicated for them, so they click off. Those are the middle of funnel pain points. And that's where the automated flows come into place. They're meant to tackle those additional pain points that people have. And so if I go onto a website right now, and this is what a lot of brands get wrong, to follow up from your last question, is they think that when someone abandons the cart or abandons a checkout, it's because they just forgot it. They just randomly clicked off, which is very rarely the case. I'll say 1% of the time that's the issue. The other 99% of the time is because, number one, they got buyer's remorse and they didn't trust you enough. It was a shipping pricing issue, so they feel like they're kind of being punished for buying your product. They have to now pay additional shipping. It doesn't make any sense. Your shipping times are not quick enough for them. In an era where you can get Uber Eats within 2 seconds, or you can get an international order in a week, your product needs to compete with that. And so you have these middle layer pain points that you also have to think about additionally on top of the top of funnel. And that's why the retention is so important, because yes, you've acquired this group of people, you know they have gut issues. They know you can solve their gut issues. But what about their other issues, which is pricing pain points and things like that?
Can you talk to me a little bit about, I think on some of your reels that I saw, you did mention a couple of the really cool brands that you've worked with and helped kind of spearhead to go to the moon and back. Can you tell me one of your success stories and one of your most favorite success stories of brands that you've worked with?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I would say so. It's funny because a lot of people would expect me to say big name brands, and I'm sure you're also expecting, some of the brands that we've done emails for, like Magic Mind, et cetera, et cetera. You would expect me to say those brands because they're the big name brands, but they also have such top level organic content and such incredible traffic that it almost makes email easy. And so it becomes this byproduct of what they're already doing. Whereas I quite like the stories of these smaller brands that are sitting, let's just say, at $50,000 per month, and we've been able to add an extra 100,000.
Dang.
So I have two top of mind. There's a brand that's a jewelry brand, and they are in the Diamond District, tons of competition in New York. And we took them on without really them having ever done email marketing before. And it's a high AOV brand. I mean, they're selling products for $1,000 plus. So it's not like you can just send a quick email and hope someone buys. It really takes a lot more intricate delicacy to get people through the door and get them to actually place an order. And so that was one of my favorite case studies that we've done as of recently, because we managed to just add an extra $350,000 onto their top of funnel revenue or top line revenue without them needing to spend more on ads. And the way we were able to do that is to nurture their existing customers who, again, they had those pain points of, we've seen this jewelry, but we can't justify the price tag. We also don't know when we're going to get it, and we don't know how it's going to look on us. And so we just had to figure out, okay, what are these pain points? Let's strip it back and let's build a funnel around that. And that's exactly what we did. If you go take a look at some of I'll give you the names after this, but one of the brands that I'm talking about right now, Virabiani, they we run a browse abandonment for them. And it's one of our highest generating flows because we literally walk them through the process of, hey, are you looking for a ring? Yes, no, this is what you should choose. This is the sizing you should go with based on XYZ. So we just like make it as simple and as dumb as possible. And that's what customers need. And another company that we work with, Real Botanicals, incredible, incredible company. Also a little bit more wellness, very restricted brand space, but we started with them a year ago, $200,000 in attributed revenue, and now they had 1.8 million in attributed revenue
Dang,
per month. Yeah, it was a
that's
crazy growth,
huge.
and it's not a big name brand. It's not a huge name brand, but from 250K or 200K per month to 1.8 million in a year is
That's
insane.
huge.
And yeah, it's crazy. And even we were blown away because every single month we just kept iterating. And then we knew exactly, okay, we've reached this like plateau point. How do we iterate again? What are the new pain points we need to focus on? How can we work with the ads to make sure that there's this continuous funnel of conversion? And so those are the two favorite by a mile. And we get to have fun with the brands that we work with. So that's why Real Botanicals worked really well. We had a little bit of free reign with how creative we could be with the campaigns.
That's cool. So how has AI changed what you do? Just listening to you, it sounds like you're heavily invested in the science of and
Yeah,
psychology of people buying products, no matter what the product is. And it sounds like you're very passionate about what you do. AI can, at least in my opinion, it can be helpful, but it can also kill some of that if people are fully relying on it to kind of do everything.
right.
So how has AI changed the email marketing game for you all, or has it?
Yeah, I think it has changed actually, but probably in the best way. So I think most companies come from the standpoint of, hey, AI has removed a lot of our need for staff. And I think it's kind of the opposite. And I find that AI has helped us in the way that everyone can now be a high level strategist, which is what previously lacked. You really had to find a personality type that could find strategy, be in kind of initiative taking. And now we don't need that. Now, what we can do is AI has helped us pull across all the data across hundreds of the accounts that we work on and take I guess, the winning outliers from every single one and the commonalities between each one. So we have now this database of the most educated strategists that we can possibly rely on just by connecting Claude, for example, with all of our backends, pulling the best performers, pulling what the outliers are, pulling what the split tests are working well across all the accounts. And now we just have the central database. Whereas previously you kind of had to comb through each account. You had to figure it out. You had to personally log these things. And there was a disconnect between central strategy that actually worked versus individual strategy. And so now we just have the central strategy from all the best accounts. And when we bring a new client on, we can just have this plug and play of, hey, we know exactly what's probably going to work based on this data that we've seen. And every person can do that. So every strategist is not disconnected and no one is less strategic or less performance based than the other, because that is always an issue, right? You bring someone on, they're not as strong in this point as someone else. And so your client ends up paying the price for that less strategic strategist that takes over their account. Now we just have this level of standard that is kind of unbeatable because we work with the best accounts and smaller accounts. We can see what works in each revenue range.
Do kind of a philosophical question. You could have kept this passion and knowledge and just kind of ran your own products. What made you want to start Mailsly to help other brands? Because a lot of folks would have just been like, I don't want to help anybody else. I got this thing down with science. I'm going to go run weight loss products and just make, $20 million a month selling Garcinia Cambogia and just call it a day. What made you want to help other folks? Because you could have just sat in your room and kept all this information to yourself and ran your own offers and, started.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So it's funny because a lot of our clients ask the same thing. I remember, especially in the beginning, they would say, if you're so good at what you do, why don't you just run your own product and call it a day? And so I have a selfish answer and a selfless answer. The selfish answer, if I'm being completely transparent, is because I don't want to deal with the nightmare of stock and running warehouses and dealing with shipping and dealing with chargebacks and dealing with customer service. I don't know that stuff, to be completely transparent. I understand how marketing works and like top of funnel, how it works middle of funnel, but I don't know enough about warehouses and how to stock the right amount of products and how to deal with a formulation issue. All of that to me sounds like an absolute nightmare, and I have no interest in dealing with any of that. I'm sure I could get a team to handle it, but I'm not proficient. And so I only like to do something that I know for sure that I'm the best in the world at. And at this point, it would be email. Can that change in the future? Possibly. But at the point of where the selfless answer comes in, I know how to do something. So selfishly, I really want to be the best in the world at it. And the only way to do that is to make sure that I can use it other brands as the outlet and prove to them that, hey, we can do this for you. There's a proven strategy. We can come in, we can guarantee that we can make a result to your account. And then we can prove that we're the best in the world. It's kind of twofold. It's like a selfish, we want to be the best in the world. I'm very competitive. I want my team to be the best in the world. And then selflessly, other brands benefit because the only way to prove that we're the best is to give other brands the result. So that's the best answer I can give you.
That's awesome. So there'll also be folks listening in who are successful entrepreneurs. Maybe they're doing $100,000 a month or whatever. What's the easiest way to engage with your company? Do you only take big clients? Like, what's the kind of standard operating procedure for somebody to see if your services could be a good fit for their company? How does that work?
Yeah, so we generally say we have a rule of thumb that and this is going to be a little bit strange because most brands are probably used to being gate kept, where agencies will only work with you if you make at least 100,000 a month. We work with brands generally as a rule of thumb. If you're making less than $50,000 per month, we probably won't want to get on a call for the mere reason that we're not what you need to focus on. You shouldn't be focusing on middle of funnel right now. Your problem is an acquisition problem. And so we do speak to brands very clearly about that. But on the other side of the spectrum, let's just say that a brand is doing $50,000 per month and they actually have decent acquisition. What we always say is we won't work with a brand if we can't guarantee an ROI to you. That is our number one rule. Morally, we just won't work with you. We have to be able to guarantee an ROI. So hopefully that's a good answer, but generally it takes a call. Usually no one under 30K ever will be able to really work with us right now, not because they shouldn't, or not because they can't, but because they shouldn't, because it's your number one priority should be on ads and acquisition. And we would rather you spend your
customers.
100%. Yeah, focus on acquisition, spend on an ad agency, not an email agency right now. Watch tons of free resources on YouTube, get a freelancer to build out based on those free resources. and then allocate a brand. But hopefully that gives a good answer to your question.
So for folks that are doing under 30,000, what are some good pointers for them for email marketing? Should they be using stuff like MailChimp, or, what are some good, like, super simple kind of best practices that somebody maybe owns a brand new health and wellness company and they're scrambling, doing everything themselves, and they're making $10,000 a month, and that's a lot for them, but they could be doing more. What are some good pointers for tools they could be using for email stuff?
Yeah, good question. I actually it should be going out now. I scheduled a video on YouTube about this exactly, just helping brands that are doing less than 50K. And basically, just to summarize it, number one, make sure that you have a simple sign up form. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Give them an incentive that makes them want to sign up so you can capture the information that you are getting right now. Even if you're just getting 1,000 visitors a month, try and get at least 17 of the 1,000 to subscribe to your list so that this compounding submissions. So it's super simple subscription. You can just ask for the email, give them 20% off. Trust me, it's probably worth your time to do that. Then just have the basic core 4 flows set up. It is just a welcome flow. You can go, and I would recommend using Klaviyo, by the way. Just super simple. They have templates. Go choose their templates. Go into flows. You don't have to build it yourself. Choose their core flows, which are the welcome, cart abandonment, checkout abandonment, and the browse abandonment. That's all you need. Set that up on their templates. You literally don't have to change anything. Set it up so you have something. So when traffic comes in, you have those automated messages. And then all you need to do, send an email once to twice per week, if not bi-weekly. It can be a plain text email. Don't worry about like the nuances or getting too in depth. Focus on acquisition. Make sure you're capturing those people. That's the best that you can do. And then keep them up to date. A plain text email from the founder works incredibly well. We still do that with the top brands. If you go take a look at Magic Mind, if you go take a look at Dessoir, go take a look at all the sends that are going out for them. There's a ton of plain text. I would say there's about a 30% split between, or 40% sometimes, of plain text to image. So you don't have to worry about a graphic team or anything. Just be consistent with sending and keep them up to date. And whoever subscribed to your list, send them the same message in the beginning. Until you hit about 50K, then you can start to iterate your strategy, but that's all you need.
Nice. So what keeps you going personally? It's endless amounts of work in this kind of business. It doesn't ever stop. There's always something to be doing. You have to have a lot of self motivation and self drive to be where you're at today. What keeps you going at the end of the day?
I think it's the same thing that most entrepreneurs have. I think that we're all competitive at nature. I don't think I know a single entrepreneur that's not competitive. I think that I have such an incentive just to be competitive, be the best in the world at what I do. But also for me personally, I think I'm very driven by results. And so when I get on a call, I hate nothing more than not knowing the answer to something. And so for me, that happens a lot more than I'd like to admit, but so many different scenarios pop up. And I just got off a call before jumping on here, and the client had a question that I just genuinely did not know the answer to, which I hate. And so I know that there's continuous learning. And until I become the best in the world, which can't happen if I still don't know the answers to things, I probably won't lose my motivation. But it really is. It's more, I have clients that are relying on me for their business, whether they want to exit, whether it's a family they're providing for. And I keep that kind of at the forefront, as cliche as that sounds. I know I'm not the only one who's working just in an agency. I have companies that have customers that rely on our messaging, that have a genuine net positive from their products. I have clients that genuinely need to give to their family or have a team to feed. And so the better that we do for them, the better net positive we have. So I think there's a bit of a selfless motivation as well. But selfishly, it is to be the best in the world. And that keeps me as motivated as I need to be. I could work 16-hour days easy.
Nice. Well, before we jumped on here, kudos to you, because so I've interviewed, I don't know, 600 people since I've been doing podcasting, and probably
Wow, that's
only,
a crazy amount, actually.
yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I've interviewed presidents of countries and, billionaires, self-made billionaires, and, the list goes on, even, down to the mom pa shop, coffee shop owner, and everything in between. And out of the 600 people I've interviewed, only probably 3 people have asked me a question on the front end, and you're one of them.
Interesting. No
It's
way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I appreciate the fact that you took, just a little bit of interest in what I was doing. I think it's a very rare thing in this setting, which is, it's fun for me to see that, and it's a unique thing. So kudos to you for doing that.
sad to hear that, then happy to hear that I was one of the 3 people. I
Isn't that
think,
crazy? Like
yeah,
most people, I mean, there's nothing against the people that didn't, they're on here
yeah.
to do their thing and to promote their brand. And that's why they're here. And I love it. And that's why they're on the podcast. But it is a very small, very unique number of people that on the front end are interested in, hey, John, why did you start doing podcasts? I mean, probably 3 or 4 people out of the 600 have asked me. So kudos to you. My last question to you is this. Let's say you're 72 years old, sipping Mai Tais on a beach. What are you going to look back on and be like, man, I did a good job? Like, what's the ultimate goal, legacy goal for you when you look back on your career when you're 90 years old, sipping Mai Tais on the beach?
Man, that's a really good question. I don't think I've even had the introspection to ask this of myself. But what I think something immediately comes to mind in my personal life is, I mean, of course, everyone starts a business for personal gain in some way. And so I would say that a personal gain that I would consider, okay, I'm 72, I did it, would be the impact that I had on my family and the people around me because of the effort I put in now, and the way that I was able to provide for them. That will always be my highlights. And I think also the person that I was able to be to them as well. I think so many people go through business being such a ruthless, I won't use the word, but a kind of a ruthless person. And I don't like to see business that way. I think it can be fun. It can be a good thing. And then you don't bring that into your personal life either. So that would be my thing is, net positive impact on the people around me. But if I had to answer business wise, it's tough to say because I just love what I do, and there's never really been, I hope to gain this from it. But if I did have to pick something off the bat, I'll probably have a more mature answer for you the next time we speak. But if I had to answer in terms of business and legacy, I would say being able to say that I have had a net positive to at least 1,000 companies in my lifetime, that they can confidently say, you know what, Jayde and Mailsy in general and the team that we worked with had such a big impact on our journey. They were the reason we were able to exit. They're the reason we were able to serve customers. That to me would be a great achievement.
Awesome. Well, Jayde, I appreciate you coming on. Folks that are maybe just tuned in here in the last minute, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to the whole thing. If you have a business that is doing any sort of sales, you're going to want to listen to what Jayde says. She gives so many nuggets of information and knowledge that can be very, very useful for your business. If you're doing over $50,000 a month and you're curious about email marketing, I want to encourage you to contact Mailsy. I'll put all the contact information in the podcast description. She knows what she's doing, folks. I've been an amateur marketing person here for the last 25 years and can easily sniff out somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about. And she knows what she's talking about. She works with major brands and is passionate about the science of developing customer relationships. So I'll put all the links in the description. You're welcome back anytime, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.